Bam! What's up, YouTube? Today we are going to go over Siege Battle rewards and the chapters. All right. Now, number one, you can see I'm at around 282 of 288 stars here. I've got my chest down to 11 minutes right now. If you go to this little question mark here, it'll show you how many stars you need to get the chest timer down. You see, we start all the way at like 30 minutes, and then when you get enough stars, it goes down to 10 minutes. And every time this ticks, you get like another little reward that isn't gems, which could be any number of things. They don't have it listed here right now, but you can get like, I think even they've got this regular summon book, they've got the mystic books, and they've got ancient books as well. So pretty sick. Mostly I get like glory doublers and stuff, but I've had a couple mystic books already. But yeah, we're gonna just jump right into it so the video doesn't go for too long. Hope everyone's doing well, but yeah. Now, Chapter 1, I just want to go over quickly. The difference between normal and hard is mostly A, the unit levels that you'll be facing, and B, the spell is improved. So you can see here, spoil hard times 3 means you'll get 3 spell cards, and each of these spells grants 3 continuous damage effects on all of your units. And if we go to normal here and we compare the spell, it only gives 2 continuous damage. So each and every one of these spells here, so let me show you chapter 9 here. So it makes the HP of 4 random enemies become 1, except for the forefront enemy. Okay, so except for the unit at the front of the fight, and put sleep on his units. Okay, and chapter 12 here, it makes the HP of 5 enemies. So it improves the spell, and you just got to work with it. But for the most part, the mechanics for the fights are the same. Okay. Now, Chapter 1, the team I recommend if you can, like you can use any team. You can use a line comp, dot comp. This one's pretty simple. You just got to watch out for these dots piling up on you, as well as the Beretta spells being cast. This comp, like the levels aren't too high. You can see they're like level 11 and stuff. These should be pretty easy. Chapter 1 should be pretty simple for most people. We'll take a look at Fight 5, because this is the highest level one. Like Fight 5 is always the hardest one, right? So you can see here they've just got some level 13 units, and they've got 3 of these, 3 continuous damage. Now you could bring Transfer, Cleanse, you can bring McKean or Wusa or another kind of cleanser. Don't overstack on your cleansers though. I would recommend going for damage. What I did is I basically just used this comp and I just berated with my purple stone, Konami'd it back, berated again. My Beretta is also on violent, so you know. Something I do need to let you guys know is that you are going to need to repeat these stages until you get the right amount of RNG so that you can clear it. Maybe not for Chapter 1 or even the first few chapters, but if you fail, don't be completely like, don't let it get to you too much, because in the later chapters, the unit levels do get to like 16 and stuff, and they are quite tanky. You may need to move some runes around from unit to unit. If you can't run like a Beretta comp or something, which like dots, so things like Kobold, Beretta, and Perna, they can kind of equal things out when it comes to unit levels, right? You just got to make sure you got a tanky front line so they don't die. You know, your front line doesn't die too quick, and you get more dots out. If you have a Sierra, and you can Sierra the dots, generally speaking, as long as these units, you know, it doesn't matter what level these units are at that point, because the dots will take a percentage of their HP, and it works out pretty well, right? So keep that in mind if you are kind of struggling, but there are some chapters where that's just not going to work, where dots, you can't really use dots. Or you can, but it's tricky, right? And we'll go over that. But yeah, anyways, Chapter 1, I would recommend using a dot comp, line comp, just, you know, like, probably like Lapis, Copper, Rakan, what was the Viking's name? You know who I'm talking about, right? Excuse me. But yeah, I'd recommend using those kind of comps for a lot of these. AoE comps are pretty good too, of course, for something like this. So Chapter 1, use anything, right? Use your strongest comp and you should be able to clear it quite easily. Chapter 2, um, pretty much the same thing. Use your strongest comp. You should be able to clear it quite easily. Again, the units here, if we go over each of these, they don't actually change too much, right? There are like some subtle changes, like maybe they swap out one unit here, one unit there. But as we get into the later chapters, you'll see like the units that they use that go with the spell mechanics, they don't actually change it too much. Now, personally, for this one, once again, I use the dot comp, right? I use this comp, and what I actually do for this is I will kill everything around the unit that gets buffed, and then when there's only one unit left, so I'll use AoEs, like it recommends these kind of units for the multi-hits, right? Personally, I recommend go in there with a Beretta, a Tessa, a Lucian, kill everything else, right? Nice and easy. And then you come in with like a Thrain or a Sophia, a Rochi here. And then what happens is when there's only one unit left, the enemy NPC will just cast the last of these spells, right? And then they're all gone, and you've probably got like 30, 40 seconds or more left on the fight, and then you just got to get rid of it on either the Coom or the Megan or whoever's left, right? Right, whoever's the one that got this first protection on them is going to get these other two protections, and then once they've been used by the NPC, it's easy. When there's only one unit left on the field for the enemy, he'll just use the other two spell cards, one after the other, and then you can get rid of it, and you don't have to worry about him recasting his spell and wasting any of your time, right? So that's just my recommendation for Chapter 2, but you'll figure it out, right? Everyone's got their own comp and what they like to do. Now, Chapter 3 is where we get a little bit more trickier, because the block method, obviously you need to either put defense down on them or use defense ignoring attacks. So, as you can see here, they do recommend using Kali and Priya, right? The Harpy. Obviously, I recommend using these as well. I also recommend using Warbear, right? Because I'm pretty sure, actually, I think he ignores defense. I can't actually remember now. Don't quote me on that. But basically, what I did personally was I used Copper, okay? Now, I did bring Shannon, right? I have a Shannon. I did bring my Shannon. I was using my first slot here, this first formation, for all of my comps. So it has changed, and I don't have any of them saved right now. So I do apologize for that. But for me, I have a decent Copper, okay? So if you don't have a decent Copper, it's not like overly necessary, okay? You can see I've got like the 3 mana cost and stuff, because you can use Priya. A lot of people have a Priya built. So, or Prilia, I guess. So, obviously, go with getting defense down on them. I recommend using a line comp in general for these ones. It does make life pretty easy. If you don't have a Copper that can just ignore defense, obviously, of course, Lucian as well ignores defense. So, Lucian, Copper, Prilia, and Kali here. All great unit choices. Just buff them and attack with them, and you'll get through this one pretty easily. Right, so Chapter 3 isn't too big a deal. They do have kind of tanky units, but they are still kind of low level enough that they are still kind of low level enough that it's not going to be too much of an issue for long time players, right? For newer players, yeah, you are just going to have to try and get some better runes and level your units up if you are kind of stuck and you aren't able to push through, okay? But yeah, so those are the units I recommend for Chapter 3. Chapter 4, the spread damage one. Now this one here is not too bad, honestly. They will cast this and stuff, and personally, if you have the stone for Elucia here that grants like invincibility and immunity on your forefront ally, you don't have to worry about this at all. In fact, even if you just bring her at all, you can counter the spread damage just by using her on, like, when your forefront, the unit that's at the front of the fight gets a bit lower HP, she will heal that unit and she'll also cleanse him, and then there's no more spread damage to worry about, right? So this whole fight can be won with just a water fairy, and then you just gotta, go in there with your regular units, okay? Now, for this fight, I did also, once again, I just beretted it, because while they do have McKean here, I do have a I do have a Sierra, so I will just, once again, Beretta, Konomiya, Beretta. I do watch out for the McKean being used early, but for the most part, that worked for this. Like, that trick worked for this as well. All right, that's my way of doing things in the early chapters, is just to AoE with Beretta. You could use Tessa or Lucian as well, of course. You don't have to worry too much about the actual spread damage if you bring a cleanser or a Lucia here, right? Something you don't need to worry too much about. So just keep that in mind. Use your normal comp, maybe throw in a cleanser if you need to, or a water fairy to cleanse that forefront ally, and you should be right for the most part, alright? You'll figure it out. It might take a couple tries if things don't come to fruition. Now, Reaper's power, once again, I did actually just use Beretta, right? The only thing is, you've got to watch out, because what happens in hard mode is that they like to cast them immediately at the start of the fight. So something to watch out for here is with Reaper's power, it has changed. So in normal, it removes harmful effects, heals the forefront unit to max HP, right? The enemy's unit. So fully recovers HP. And then it gives them like immense damage. So it'll just one-shot most things, right? So you need to be really careful about which of these units are getting the Reaper's power. If possible, try and get it on one of these single target damage dealers. If it doesn't land on one of them and it hits like a Thrain or something, you may just need to restart the fight. However, in hard difficulty, notice here it says fully recovers the HP and grants invincibility. Now the thing about Reaper's power in hard is that this invincibility is instant, and then it continues the rest of the buff. So you can't just counter the card and kill the unit that it's going on, because the invincibility instantly goes on the unit. So you need to be careful about, instead of trying to kill the unit that Reaper's power is being cast on, when it starts being cast on the unit, save your stun or your single target hit, whatever it is you want to use on this Reaper's power guy, for after the invincibility. So there's going to be invincibility, okay, as soon as he starts to cast it. You will not be able to kill it. What I recommend bringing for Reaper's power is a unit like John, or what's his name? Let's see. Let me double check. This guy here, Tark, I think. Targaros, right? So John, Targaros, or John? Yeah, John, Targaros. This one here. So the Paladin, right? So I recommend bringing her, Targaros, because it's always going to be on the forefront ally of the enemy that they use Reaper's power on, right? So what you want to do is, when they cast Reaper's power, try and wait out the invincibility. If they do go to attack with the unit, right? Oh, look, he's right here. There he is. Yeah, never mind. What you want to do is, of course, Chloe, right? Invincibility to invincible your way through it. Targaros to stun the target, which is why John also works. Or Kuhn here with his freeze. Now, this guy here, probably not as reliable, because maybe he doesn't freeze maybe he doesn't freeze them. This stun is generally always going to happen. Chloe's invincibility is great. Do not try and Woosa shield it or any other kind of shield, because this stuff, like, they will hit you for like 50k or some nonsense, right? They will just eat through the shield and wipe your units, okay? So just something to keep in mind. You can, it doesn't put immunity on the unit that it buffs, so you can just stun it, and you can, of course, invincibility your way through the skill attack, because their regular attacks are still normal, but the skill attack will just one-shot everything. However, some of these units have quite fast attacks, right? So you won't be able to, let's see, do they have a Roid here? They have an Orochi, right, in most of these. You can see, like, the team makeup hasn't really changed in any of these comps. So yeah, they don't have a Roid. So all of these units should be you should be able to Chloe all of these units except maybe the Orochi. So just be careful of that. If he even taps your forefront ally, it'll just instantly die. Okay, your forefront unit, it'll just die. So just something to keep in mind for that. All right, guys. Reaper's power, a little tricky, but definitely viable. Chapter 6. Now, this one here, pretty simple. You just have to keep your attack buffs up. Okay. So what I did for this one, I think I actually used copper again, and I brought my Shannon. I didn't bring my Megan, but I brought my Chloe. Sorry, I brought my Colleen, my Shannon, and I brought. Let's see, we'll go to this. Whoops. Go to spells. I also brought Synergy. So where are we? This one. So this gives attack up 2 on all allies. Now, for this particular one, you don't need to worry too much about much of anything. Bring in normal comp. Bring any kind of comp, right? Probably not dot comp, actually. But bring like a line comp, like Copper, Rakan, Prelia, Lapis. Or bring like an AoE comp like Lucian, Tessarian, right? Also, Galleon is another good unit for this. So Galleon, Colleen, Shannon, pretty much everyone with an attack buff. You need everyone with an attack buff, okay? And what you want to do is you buff up your attack to 2 or 3, keep that cycling, keep it stacked, and then you just attack with your line comp or your with your line damage units or your AoE damage units. All right, and that's pretty much it for this one. Once again, the units don't change too much, right? You see they've got all of these kind of things going here. You got to watch out for this Ganymede. He will nuke your cards away. Just again, if you get some bad RNG, just reset it, try again. Don't worry too much about Soha. It doesn't matter if they buff themselves because you're buffing yourself and trying to kill them. Just watch out for these level 15s and watch out for these Sierras. Okay, most of these Sierras have stones on them and stuff. This last one here has a legend stone, so it'll turn your buffs into dots, but you have to buff or you can't hurt them at all. So just keep that in mind. They have a Sierra, which is why I recommend bringing obviously like maybe a Konomiya as well with attack up or something, just to keep your damage dealer buffed with attack up, and you'll get through this pretty fine without too many issues, okay? You can see it absorbs all damage and defense up 2 on all allies. Only enemies who attack up level is greater than the ancient level. So it hasn't changed much, right? Now, chapter 7. Whew. This one, again, also hasn't changed much, right? So what happens is when this buff is on you, you just do 0 damage. Now, you can bring any unit comp that you like. Just watch out for Eleanor and this Perna. The AI loves spamming Perna, okay? So if you try and use dot yourself, you just need to be aware that they will try and cleanse them, and they will also try and get Perna Flames on you, which if you're busy trying to cleanse, so you can see it recommends bringing your own. That's because this guy loves to spam, okay? So something to watch out for there is the cleanse spamming and the Perna spamming. They also have Diaz, as you can see. So just something to watch out for, basically. If you do get Diaz'd, you won't be able to heal yourself to max. And when they put Perna on you, those dots that keep ticking and ticking, very dangerous. I recommend not using McKean on this stage. Some people go like McKean and Bella. I recommend not doing that. I do recommend Bella. Bella's pretty good. Again, Eleanor's good. Colleen is good. Because what you want to basically try and focus on is as soon as this spell comes out, counter this spell. Once it's cast on you, counter it by instantly healing. Try and keep your units maxed with topped up with Bella. And then say you take a little chip damage from Perna or something like that on your backline units, and then this spell comes out. What you want to do is just instantly heal with Eleanor and Colleen, max your HP, make this debuff go away, and then just continue the fight, okay? Other than that, That's what you got to watch. That's basically all you got to watch out for. Just of course, if you try and use dots, watch out for the pony who will try and cleanse it. And yeah, I would recommend once again using a line comp or an AoE comp like Lucian, Tessarian. Line comp. Lapis worked really well here for a lot of these particular fights. But yeah, I'd recommend going with that. Now, let's see. That was chapter 7, right? Yep. Okay, cool. Now, chapter 8. This one's super simple. After chapter 7, which can be a little tricky because of the unit setup and everything, chapter 8, super easy. All right, you don't have to worry too much about chapter 8, honestly. It just puts deceleration and freezes on you if you already have deceleration. Just use your regular comp. You can get away with using dots, a line comp, or an AoE comp. Just smash them. You do not have to worry too much about this comp. It's mostly a counter comp, and AI is not very good at countering you. As you can see, there's like Molong, Hathor, Jean, Ragdoll. All units that you use as counter type units for the most part in pretty much all of these fights. And the AI is just not very good at using them, and the spell card itself isn't very dangerous either. So keep that in mind. Chapter 8, super cakewalk. Use any comp you like. Okay? Now, Chapter 9, you are going to want Perna or Beretta. And Diaz is actually pretty good for this too. So what you would do is, if you have a Sierra, and hopefully most people do, you are going to want her in this comp as well, because all of these enemy comps are running McKean or some kind of cleanse. I think they all have McKean and Bella. Yeah, so McKean, Bella. So just keep in mind that all of these comps run McKean. Not all of them have Bella, but they all have McKean. And I think... No, so that's the normal stone. Normal stone. There's the immunity stone. So for 4 and 5, both have immunity stone. However, the computer's not very good at countering, once again. So don't worry too much about that. You do need to watch out for the fact that this Dark Shield, while it absorbs all types of damage, it also gives attack up 2 to the enemy units now as well. So be very aware that this Tessa is going to get this attack up 2 buff. Okay? Excuse me. Now, how do we deal with this? Use a normal comp basically, but you are also going to need to bring Beretta and Perna. Once again, you see they recommend Konamiya. Personally, because I have a Purple Stone Beretta and a Sierra, and I run dots still to this day, I didn't have too many issues with this level and this stage, but anyone with like a regular Beretta might have some troubles. Just keep in mind that when you are using Beretta for this stuff, if you don't have a Sierra, you may get effed by the McKean. So what you can do is if you have a Diaz, right? So this guy here, or some other unit that does a nice wide AoE debuff like Poseidon, Ganymede, etc. Often or sometimes the McKean will try and cleanse that away, and then what you can do is use Beretta. So while this buff is up, you can then Beretta them, because it's the only real way. Continuous damage is the only real way to do reliable damage while this buff is up on them. Okay, it doesn't last overly long, but it lasts long enough that you may wind up going overtime in the fight. So that's something to watch out for there. Okay, again, if you can get Perna on them and you can stack a lot of Pernas, you may have a pretty easy time of it, especially if you've got a Sierra, because every time they can only cleanse once, they don't bring it back with Konamiya or anything like that. So you can spam a lot of Perna on them, and if you get enough flames with good luck RNG, you can Sierra them a couple times, and the flames will kill everything. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. And of course, if you use a line comp and you hit them between this buff, you can wipe out McKean in a lot of these. So McKean's on the back line there. She's on the front line there. So like I said, like you can wipe out McKean if you need to, and then follow up with dots and stuff. So something to keep in mind there. All right, guys. Now that was chapter 9. Yep. So chapter 10, Dark Regeneration. This one you are kind of forced. Like now, I have a Diaz that I built recently. You can see they've recommended Diaz, Diaz, Kali, Coom, and of course once again Synergy. So this spell here, whoop, this one here. Okay. You see here it puts unrecoverable on all enemies. So this spell here, something to bring for this, because you are going to want all of these heal blockers. Maybe not Coom. He's not always the most reliable for actually killing the units or getting through them. What you might want to do instead is bring Kali and Konomiya. And then what you do is you Kali the unit, Konomiya Kali back, and then Kali again. Maybe put Kali on Violent. Also recommended, bring a high damage unit. So like Sophia, right? So this comp here, for example, this might even be the one I used for it. Yeah, I just haven't changed it yet, I think. But essentially, maybe not. I don't think I had Spoil. But yeah, so Diaz, Kali, Sophia, because you might not be able to get heal block on the enemies, but if you can one-shot them or get them low enough to one-shot and then follow up with another, or sorry, get them really low with your first attack and follow up with another attack before the heal pops off, you will kill the unit, right? The only thing you've got to watch out for is mostly when it's like regeneration 2 and 3, they may heal just that little bit too much for you to finish them off without a heal block. It just depends, because like a lot of these, it depends a lot on what kind of quality units you're running right now. Are most of your damage runes and stuff, like are your good runes on the single target units? Are they on a different kind of comp like Tessa and stuff? I would not recommend trying to use an AoE comp for this chapter. You can see they've got Wusa, but mostly it's just a pain in the butt to try and do it. You could possibly get away with, if you have Diaz with, let's see, can I bring this up? No, edit deck. Okay, so if you have Diaz, you can see I've got the purple stone, but if you have Diaz with this unrecoverable duration of Deadly Wave by 6 seconds stone, you should be able to run an AoE comp. However, without that stone, I'd advise against it because the heal block doesn't last very long in that case, alright? Excuse me. Anyways, just something to watch out for there, okay? I think that kind of covers this chapter. The regeneration's a pain in the butt, but as soon as you get heal block on them, it's not too bad. You can see they don't really have any cleansers. They have a Lucia here, but it's like, whatever. If you're running a single target comp, you'll eat through these pretty quickly, and you won't have to worry about too much. Once again, you can see I'd recommend like a setup similar to this. A couple units like Kroom here and Rakuni, you could swap around. The bear there is just because he's my tanky unit. Have like something tanky at the front. Obviously, maybe a haste buff so that you can cycle through your cards. If you run like the vampire with his purple stone, like if you can run like a regular single target comp, you'll just eat through this pretty simply. Just, make sure you bring heal block, okay? You don't have to worry too much about this particular stage as long as you've got heal block and units that hit hard enough, okay? Just, yeah, like I said, I wouldn't recommend trying to use an AoE comp. Now, Chapter 11. Oh boy, Chapter 11. This one here can be pretty tricky. Once again, I recommend do not try to use an AoE comp, because what they've changed for the spell here, Boundaries of Life and Death goes on all enemies now. So if you kill one unit, right, if you kill a single unit, your entire comp will take damage. You'll just explode your whole... It hits so hard that it will explode the majority of your units, except for maybe your tankier units. And just kill them in one explosion. So you need to be very careful with this one. And once again, it loves using the spell instantly at the start of the fight, okay? This is going to be one of those fights where you are going to need to retry a few times over and over. Now, you can see things like it recommends using Wusa, Chloe, I think both these units are bad for this, because A, Wooster Shield just doesn't block enough, and B, Chloe invincibility just often doesn't last long enough to be worth trying to use. And even if you do use it, you just used 5 mana, and you probably need to follow up immediately afterwards with another spell while invincibility is up, so maybe Camilla, to try and kill whatever unit it is you're trying to kill right away, because if you try and wait for the auto attack, her invincibility is going to fall off, and you are going to explode, right? So something to keep in mind there. Both of these units I think are both really bad. Specifically for hard mode, probably get away with it, like, you get away with it on normal. But for hard mode, no. You also need to be very careful when using Diaz, because if you heal block the forefront unit, and then you auto it to death. So heal block is great, okay, for this stage, because you'll prevent all of these backline units and every other unit that you're not targeting and autoing from healing, right? Do you need to be aware, be careful of these like double cleanses, but again, you also don't need to worry too much, just also be careful, okay? If you do plan on using heal block and Diaz, you can see that they do recommend, again, Kali for the heal block. However, if you use Kali, you're more likely to one-shot the unit, so who cares about heal block at that point, right? And if you one-shot the unit with Kali, and they have this buff on them, if you're trying to heal block them with Kali with this buff on them, you're probably going to kill them instead, and then this buff is going to explode your whole team. So again, something to keep in mind. This recommended choice, a little dangerous. Personally, I used my copper comp. So again, I would, like, you can try an AoE comp if you like. And what you would want to do is probably use Tessa and Lucian and Diaz, and try and cycle through those 3 if you can, right? Because what you want to do is, of course, heal block this. So send out your damage like Tessa and Lucian, right? And then before this buff heals all the enemies, then send out your Diaz to heal block them. Just before it pops, generally speaking. That way there's usually no time for the AI to try and cleanse the heal block, okay? However, once again, trying to do that can be quite tricky because the AI is quite good at cleansing, okay? So just keep that in mind if you want to try with the AoE route. These units are quite high level, so they are kind of tanky. And there's a good chance you won't just like insta-give them when you're using your AoEs and get them very low very quickly. So just keep that in mind. You are going to need to Diaz them a few times. Once again, I'd probably only recommend trying this if you've got the 6-second extended. But as long as you time it right and you get the heal block on all the units, it won't be too much of an issue or a hassle. Now, personally, what I recommend is to use a line comp. And what you want to do is when you do this fight, I don't think I have a line comp here right now, but let me just show you quickly. When you do this fight, right, so we'll go in, my copper is on the front line here, so I just want to show you guys essentially what you want to do. Like, again, I don't recommend dots, I don't recommend AoE. Single target, probably fine. What I would recommend you doing, so let me just cycle through here. So I'm going to put this heal block out. So what you want to do, we're just going to let this run. And you wait it out. Now, obviously, copper, I wouldn't have on the front line here. I think I am actually going to lose copper. But let's just pretend one of these other cards is copper, because we're going to lose copper here. Generally speaking, if you're running a line comp, you would have them on the back line, so that they're not dying first up. But then you wait that out. And then, as soon as that first card is done, right, that is when you start spamming your line comp units, right? So let's just pretend that Beretta here is the line comp unit. And at this point, after like 2 of these, this front line should basically be dead, right? As long, like, if you're using like copper or something, like, look at that. And then boom. So like, even just using Beretta here, I just nuked everyone, right? Now, let's see here. We did just dot them up. And Let's use this, and do we kill him? There we go. Look at that. We 3-starred it with Beretta. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, so there you go. Just an example, like, once again though, I would recommend using a line comp like Copper, Lapis, Rakan, Prelia, etc. Because once you wait, like, put it like a super tank up the front so it doesn't die too quickly, bring Konomiya, and then just buff, smash him a couple times as soon as that first buff wears off. And then there's a good chance that, as you saw, he won't even have a chance to use the second 2 buffs for the back line or anything else like that. A really good spell when using your line comp for this is spread damage. Sorry, I need to like sneeze again. Excuse me. But yeah, anyways, a really good spell for this is spread damage. As soon as you break through the front line, you would put it on the back line. Oh, sorry, what you do is buff, obviously, first. Put the spread damage on the back line, and then, bam, line damage them with your Lapis, your Copper, your Rakan, your Prelia. Just line damage, right? But again, you saw there, if you time things well, you can also just dot them and Sierra them. But it does become a bit trickier for those last 2 units because you saw how low they were. If he did put boundaries of life and death on them, it would be very dangerous trying to kill the last 2 without nuking the rest of your party as well, though. That's the only issue, okay? So just keep that in mind. I do recommend a line comp and those other units rather than all of these recommended units. Like Diaz, obviously pretty good. I think Kali will just nuke you by killing the unit. So again, that can be an issue. And of course, Chloe is like a maybe. I think Chloe costs too much mana, and the invincibility doesn't last long enough. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to clear boundaries of life and death. All right. Yeah, just something to keep in mind when trying to clear boundaries of life and death. Now, last chapter, chapter 12. You see, I've cleared in like 3 of these. I don't really have runes on my single target units, so I haven't pushed too hard into it. I did 2 and 3 just this morning because I pushed through up to 12, and then I've just kind of left it sit there. And I meant to do this video a few days ago, but I just haven't had time. So here we are now. As you can see, we're almost 40 minutes in. We're on the last chapter, and yeah, it is what it is. All right, guys. But basically, this one here, it sleeps 5 enemies and makes the HP 1. Sorry, it makes 5 of your units go to 1 HP, except for the very front unit, and then it puts his units to sleep. Okay, so I do highly recommend using a single target comp, like something like this. It has McKean and Bella recommended. I also have Colleen. So I have all 3 recommended units. This is one of those stages where its recommendations are great. You can see I've got Bernard here to get the acceleration boost. I've got Konomiya, so I can bring back one of these 3 single target units if I need to. Both of my Finn and my Kali are actually both on Violent runes as well. And Sophia is just on some... You can see like the runes are not very good, right? They're just kind of whatever. So I'm just going to run through this one just to show you quickly how you kind of want to handle this. You can't now, in normal, I do just Beretta this, right? However, it is very tricky to do that with these level 15s and 16s, and with this this hard difficulty one, making 5 of them. It's just very it makes it a lot trickier to try and Beretta them to death before they counter you and hit you with something to like kill your units that excuse me, are now on 1 HP, right? So just something to keep in mind. I did change things up and start using a single target comp for this, and it's worked out fine. Let's just run through it. You can see once again I've got spread damage. I think spread damage is an amazing card for this particular stage as well, because as soon as you hit that back line, you can just spread damage and hopefully delete them before they use those spells again. So let's see how this goes. Level 15, bam, we'll just Sophia him. And next, we'll use our water unit. It looks like we're not going to be able to use our speed buff. Our Paul Bernard. Now keep in mind, be careful here. Here it comes. Follow up with your McKean. Right? And then use your doggo. You can see all of these guys are now asleep. Okay? You see everyone is asleep. So this is your opportunity to get more damage out. Now you see, once again, I don't really have very strong units for this. Okay? If you do have like a single target comp, you won't have too many issues. Like if you naturally generally run a single target comp, you should breeze through this because you'll one-shot most of these units with your Imp, your Kali, and your Sophia, right? You saw the runes I use on mine, and even I'm able to like basically eat through this. Yeah, look, here we go. Ooh. Something to be careful of here. So there's the spread damage. And let's see if I can... There we go, pop. Now, generally, I would have liked to have used something else to kind of make life a bit easier. Ooh. Look at all those flames on us. This is so dangerous. Normally, what I would do here is use... I would have used my blood shield when Perna put the flames on me. So I did mess up pretty badly here, honestly. You can see I'm dying to all these flames, and generally speaking, what I would have done is, yeah, so I've messed up. I have to retry. I would use the blood shield, or I would have countered with McKean from the start, right? Because my McKean has immunity. I could have countered with McKean to stop him, but I was being greedy because I was trying to rush it for the video, right? But you get the idea, right? You saw we got to the end. We just have to be very careful. As long, like I said, as long as you do something similar to this, you can upkeep your units. And if you have much stronger single target units than me, you should get through this without any issues at all, right? So like we're fighting, you see here, like technically if you had a decent unit, you could just kill her, no problem, right? Like she wouldn't have even got a hit, she wouldn't have killed anything. He would have died in one shot. Ooh, okay. I better be careful here. Yeah, okay, so we only got 2 flames this time. Aww. I should have saved that for once he actually put the debuff on me. I did mess up. It is a shame that he got rid of McKean there, because these units are all going to die to the tick. And I just lost my McKean. But anyways, you get the idea, okay? Single target works really well. You will need to retry stages until your RNG lines up properly, okay? But other than that, not too many issues, right? So again, you know, I'm up to doing this stage here. The Perna is the biggest issue for this. So if you've got something like if you bring Molong, for example, right, and you just counter the Perna, or you have immunity like Wusa, maybe you have a 4 mana cost Wusa, you've got your McKean sitting there. Like, I'd recommend using McKean and Bella for the debuff, and then maybe bring like maybe bring double cleanse, right? You just got to be really careful about if the fight goes for too long, right? So if you do focus on bringing like a bunch of cleansers and healers, you just got to be careful about the fight going over time, and that's about it, really. But yeah, there you go. If you like, though, sorry, before we end it, if you do have a really good couple of single target units, it won't matter because you will just one-shot these every time you get a chance to attack, and you won't care, right? So good stuff there. You can of course bring a Tessa and Oblivion this guy, and you know, you can just Molong him, right? Anyways, we'll leave it there. Blood Curtain, of course, great spell for it. Spread damage, of course, even better spell. Just, you know, try and line up a couple single target attacks at once and then spread damage them both at a time. What you would want to do is you would use, let's let's say we put spread damage on. Let's say we put spread damage on, Hua or whatever. What I'd want to do is attack first with Sophia, if I can, and that'll glancing hit spread damage everybody, and then you'd follow up with a unit that is elemental advantage. So elemental disadvantage should mostly get glancing hits, do a bunch of spread damage on everyone, and then not kill Qua, and then you can follow up with like a elemental advantage unit like Finn, and just nuke them with because they'll all be a bit lower, and then you just nuke them into oblivion because all that extra damage will go into the rest of the back of the line or whatever, right? So yeah, front line, pretty quick, pretty simple. Using your, I'd recommend single target, but you can use a line comp. It'll keep the back line asleep while you kill the front line. I don't recommend AoE comp because then you wake everybody up, and it does just become really difficult to both try and keep everyone off of 1 HP, right, and heal them back up, and do damage. Okay, that's the issue. Is like you can generally do like doing pure raw damage pretty easy, but trying to both heal and do raw damage together when fighting this NPC can be a little tricky. So just something to keep in mind. And yeah, we'll leave it there, guys. I think we've done pretty good. You can see kind of an example of the rewards we get. So the chest here, 1 per 11 minutes. Like, look, I got crystal, right? Anyways, guys, I'm going to drop it there. 46 minutes in. I'll put some chapters down below. And yeah, hope that kind of gives everyone somewhat of an idea. Helps out. It is quite a long video. And yeah. Good luck with your clearing. And, whatever you summon next time. That you, whatever you're saving your summons for. I hope you get. Hope you get your legend stones. Anyways, peace out, guys. I will catch you on the next one. Wah.